What is up, people? How's everybody doing? That is awesome. Welcome to Preparedness. I am your host, Big G. As you saw from the title, like always, you guys even know what I'm going to talk about before I do. Anyway, got up this morning and it was 9 degrees outside. Okay. That has led me to thinking maybe we ought to talk about the whole bugging out, bugging in, heading for the woods thing. Okay, might be a good time to have this conversation again. If you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, try to beg you guys, find somewhere out in the sticks to go. Okay, if you live in suburbia or urban city, try to find a buddy, aunt, grandma, whoever. If you cannot afford to purchase your own property, of course, try to find somebody that if stuff goes sideways, you got somewhere to go. Okay. I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people are just preparing to bug in. Where we are at in Ohio here, Ohio, yeah, it gets freaking cold in the wintertime. Okay. Now I know that this is not Saskatchewan or anything like that up in Canada, but it gets pretty cold. We had a stretch just a couple years ago where it was a high of I think it was -10 for a week straight, and that was the high. So anyway, here in Ohio, I also know that land is very expensive. There are parts of the country, yeah, you can pick up trash blowing across the road. You can pick up 5-10 acres for, yeah, probably 10 grand. Can't do that here. Even if you get out in what they call the boonies here, 10 acres is still going to probably cost you, man, I don't know, 30 up to 50,000. And for the working man, that's kind of hard to take care of. So try to get someplace out away from everything, somewhere to go. Try to have stuff already pre-positioned. And the reason why I say that, this morning it was 9 degrees. If you were bugging in, okay, and bugging in your home in suburbia, very few homes today are built with like fireplaces or wood stoves, things like that. They rely on natural gas and electricity to heat the home. Well, if we're talking about a grid down event, how are you going to heat that home? It's going to be very difficult. All of the canned goods and stuff that you've stocked in the garage, all those are going to freeze, and they're going to bust, and they're not going to be any good anymore. Excuse me. So yeah, if you guys have dropped a couple $100 on canned goods, you're going to be in trouble. And canned goods, I'm talking about the canned veggies, stuff like that. If you pressure can the canned meat, or even, you know, canned tuna fish, things like that. Anything that has water in them. If you got the number 10 cans from the freeze-dried stuff, yeah, you're probably going to be okay. But no, think about that. If you're planning on bugging in, what are you going to do when the temperature drops, and drops hard? What is your plan? As far as keeping you and your family warm, my recommendation is hopefully you have a basement. Get everybody in the basement and try to seal off as small an area as possible for you guys. Allow your body heat. Allow your body heat to heat up that area that you have. The clear plastic's good to have. This is where those real cheap Mylar emergency blankets, those can come into play. But the smaller area you have, the warmer you're going to be. I see in suburbia especially, and urban, wow, but suburbia, I see this as being a bigger problem, that there are going to be people who are going to try to jerry-rig some sort of wood heat in their house. They're going to try taking this metal container and hooking it up to the flue for the exhaust for the furnace, and they're going to try burning stuff. Number one, let you know, if you try to burn your furniture in a basement, you're probably going to die because of the fumes, because of all the stuff they put on to make them pretty, right? And most furniture nowadays is that press board stuff. It contains all kind of nasty chemicals and stuff. So if you're planning on burning your furniture, you better be well ventilated, and then it's kind of pointless because you're trying to stay warm. You don't want ventilation. Even people that have, maybe they have wood out back because they have a fire ring, they got a bonfire in the summertime a couple times. Modern day houses with the exhaust for the furnace and the hot water tank, that's not made for that. So you're going to have fires. And even if you, in your suburban home, maybe, you know, you're preparedness minded, you've purchased and had someone who knows what they're doing install a wood stove, something along those lines. You're like, nah, gee, I got this, man. We got a couple cords of wood out back, we've got the wood stove, everything else. Yeah, but the buddy next door isn't, and his house is on fire, and that's going to catch your house on fire. Okay? So you got to think about things like that. These allotments, these subdivisions, whatever you want to call them, the houses are so closely packed together that if a fire starts in one of them, you got to remember there's no more fire department. There is no water pressure, so you're not going to go out with your water hose and put out the fire. I see entire neighborhoods burning to the ground because one guy set his house on fire trying to heat the home. Okay? Things to think about. So let's go off the guys that are planning on bugging in, and let's move to the guys that I'm heading for the hills. I'm a man's man, and I know how to live in the woods. And I've watched this guy, and he made a lean-to shelter, and you know, he did it all with just his pocket knife. Okay, at 9 degrees, you're going to need a lot of wood. You're going to need a lot more than just a simple lean-to shelter. Okay, if you don't believe me, go out and try it right now. Right now is the time to do it. Okay. Get concerned for those guys, the heading for the hills guys. Unless you got a hole pre-dug back in the ground somewhere, you're probably going to be in rough shape. Trying to fight off that kind of cold, you can forget about sleep, number one. You would almost have to have 2 or 3 fires surrounding you and just keep feeding them all night and all day. But once again, to each their own, you know what I mean? I'm just here to bring up some points. Everybody can make their own decision, of course. But that's why I really, you guys hear me hammer home about having that pre-planned bug out location. Like I said, Aunt Sarah's, whoever you got. Might just be a buddy that they got a barn and you've taken the time to take care of it. The guys that are heading for the hills, you can't carry enough food, even if you don't freeze to death. You can't carry enough food to sustain you through the winter. There's not enough food out there to keep you alive. And I don't care how good you are at wild edibles and hunting and trapping, there's not. Well, I've got these caches. Yeah, try digging through frozen ground. Okay? To the people that are doing the bugging in their homes. Yeah, all that food you put back has gone bad because the cans have frozen and bust. You're trying to prepare food in your basement because you're trying to keep warm, and now you've killed everybody because of carbon monoxide. Okay? Things to think about. As far as, gee, you don't understand, I don't have anybody. I hear you. Make friends. Really, I mean, I don't know. Try to, you guys heard me preach about preparedness groups. Find a preparedness group next to you. And try to get in with those guys, and they can offer you a lot of tips and stuff too. But things to think about. The bugging in makes me nervous for folks, and the just heading for the hills makes me nervous. That's why, if something major were to happen, if you read any of the prepper novels and things like that, most of those guys in their stories pretty much agree that after that first winter, a whole lot of people didn't make it. Okay, through starvation, freezing to death, etc. So something to bear in mind. Like always, please comment. Love hearing the comments from you guys. And if you don't agree with me, say, nah, man, we're bugging in and I've got this in place and this in place and this in place. Great, post it. Post it, and maybe you can help somebody else out that sees that comment and they haven't thought about that. Or if you're doing for the heading for the hills thing, post it, and maybe you'll help somebody out that hadn't thought about that. You know, you've got the heading for the hills thing all worked out. Yeah, post what you guys are doing. I'm not going to make fun of you. Now, I can't speak for other folks. But anyway, appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot. Please do the like, share, subscribe thing. Really helps us out. See ya.